we have all these hard feelings internally, whether it's feeling alone, whether it's feeling the fear of rejection. For me, it was the fear of being seen, but I purposely have been doing things afraid, and that gets me to the next step. And I'm not afraid of that discomfort anymore. I look for it, and I realize I've been doing that my whole life, which allows me to get to where I am now.
Welcome to the Next Level Women podcast, where powerhouse women break limits, claim their worth, and rise beyond good enough. I'm Jennifer Perri, a transformational coach, best-selling author, and fierce advocate for women reclaiming their power. After overcoming adversity from an abusive marriage to Guillain-Barré syndrome, I've made it my mission to help women rise above limiting beliefs, unlock their genius, and create lives of freedom, ease, and fulfillment. Each week, I sit down with 6- and 7-figure female entrepreneurs, executives, and visionaries who are rewriting the rules of success, building lasting impact, and owning their brilliance. Together, we'll share strategies, breakthroughs, and unfiltered conversations designed to inspire your clarity, confidence, and next level power. This isn't just another business podcast. It's where transformation meets legacy and where unstoppable women rise. Welcome to the Next Level Women podcast. Welcome to the Next Level Women podcast, where women stop waiting and start choosing what's next. I'm your host, Jennifer Perri, reinvention and divorce coach, mindset and money strategist, and the CEO of Shiro Life and Empowerment Coaching. Each week, I sit down with powerful women who are redefining success and building life on their terms. And our guest today is Jen DeGroff. How are you doing, Jen?
Doing fantastic. How about you?
Good, good. We were just talking at the very beginning. She is new to music, but look at that beautiful setup she has behind her.
Yes, these are my drums and my husband's two guitars and mine. It's changed my world because I'm hearing music, I'm hearing the world differently because of it and the rhythm. So it's new to me completely, and I'm diving into it. It's awesome.
So I'm going to just brag on you for a couple seconds, Jen, before we get started in today's broadcast. So Jen is the founder of True Icon, a speaker, coach, and leadership advocate whose work centers around authenticity, confidence, identity, and aligned growth. Her story bridges corporate leadership, wellness, neurodivergent advocacy, and personal transformation. And I am so excited to have you here today. We met about a year or two ago, right? Has it been
Mhm.
2 years yet? I can't even remember.
At least a year and a half.
At least a year and a half. And what I can tell you, what spoke to me about Jen's energy was her drive. Like, she had all these visions for herself and all these things that she wanted to do. And I thought, out of a lot of people I've met, this girl's going to do it. Like, she is going to make it happen. And just watching her evolution over the past year and a half has been amazing for me. But why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're joining us from, and then we'll start the interview.
Yes, Jen DeGroff. I'm coming from New York. I have a wide range of passions and interests, and my current journey now is all about that authenticity and growth. I'm sure we'll dive into it a bit, but I'm a traveler, and that also includes I love learning from the people around me, even if I don't travel. So I love traveling to get the perspectives from others. So right now, I currently reside in New York, and I am also experiencing different parts of the country and world.
That's awesome. Well, I want to get into, I've always, like I said, meeting you was such a joy because you were just to see somebody who was younger. Obviously, I think anybody younger than me is just, so much younger. But to see somebody who was so young but had her vision so set on what it is that she wanted to do, but also just looking ahead, like you, when we would talk, you would be kind of a little worried about stuff and a little concerned about stuff, but that didn't shift anything. Like, you knew what you wanted to do and you knew how you were going to get there, and but you just needed, like, I guess, you grew in confidence as you went along. But so much of what you do and your work is about helping people connect to who they're truly meant to be, outside of the expectations and performance. And now, was there a moment in your own life where you realized that you fully didn't feel aligned with what you really felt called to do?
Yes, there were several moments. And the key is I have the confidence and the authenticity, and I've always had this hope. So this hope up here that it will work out, but I never really knew how, and I never really trusted myself enough to get there. So I had to unpack a lot of my doubts and mistrust and confidence to get to the point where I am now. So, in terms of a point of realization how strong my vision is, it was from a high level after I've built all of the different pieces. So, for those who might not know, I have many different backgrounds. So, it stems from working in a tech startup as their marketing and business director, business development director, and then going between personal training as well as the behind the scenes marketing. And I was doing all of these things in corporate, all of the right path. And when it hit me, I rose up a bit in terms of managing the data analytics. I have an analytical brain and a creative brain, but also was in this spot where I was basically telling other people to do certain things, but the behind the scenes marketing takes all of this data and what's working and what's not working, and I would present to the executives. These are 5 key takeaways from what you can do based on all of this extensive data of how we can improve other people's lives. That part was cool. But I was finding as I was in my corporate chair, I I started realizing how much energy I was losing every day. And so much point that it constantly drained me. It constantly drained me to the point where something happened, something clicked, where I had this idea of staying true to myself. I've always been listening to podcasts. I've been listening for the self-help side of things, but at the right moment, the right time, I learned about neuroplasticity, the fact that the brain can change. And that allowed me to realize that I'm not stuck where I need to be. Where I am now, I can change. But I had this almost like a light bulb moment. I like calling the moments that I work with others light bulb moments where you have this all of a sudden realization of either your worth, your impact, etc. And that's kind of how True Icon was born, where I realized everything where was what I currently had and it wasn't good enough. Like I was still looking for fulfillment. I was still looking for that deep sense of purpose and I wasn't finding it in the places I would find it, let alone all the health challenges I had, family challenges. There's a whole lot to unpack that's a whole separate thing. We could always dive into pieces. That was a separate journey. But what I realized is I was empty and it was extremely challenging to the point where I realized I didn't want to be where my boss was. I didn't want to be at what the journey I was making and that something had to change. And the exact moment is when I couldn't hear. I I was so used to not listening to my own voice that I didn't listen to my body as well. So I'd have all the stomach issues, the health issues. I was in the doctor all the time trying to figure things out, allergy testing. It just wasn't clicking. But then I couldn't hear. I couldn't literally hear my coworkers. And it was stress. It was stress and it was also pushing myself into a life that wasn't fulfilling. That it was like, wake up, Jen. Do something different. And then I realized, well, no one else is gonna live my life except for me. No one's gonna take the actions, do the things that I really like. And if I'm waiting for everyone else in the world to tell me what to say, what to do, then that's not it. So after that moment of realization, it's like, well, what else is gonna happen? Like, what now? If I can't hear, if it's hard to eat things, like, where do I go from here? That's actually beneficial to me, or I could just continue down that path of ignoring all my signs, both internally and outward, external. And I decided to take the tiny actions to better myself even more.
And I think a lot of people real think, well, I think there are a lot of people that don't think tiny actions can change everything. They feel like they have to do this grandiose gesture, this huge step, and taking small steps, like small steps consistently forward can be just as impactful, if not more impactful. And you have to celebrate those. And you kind of touched on it, but you've spoken a lot about people living by scripts that they didn't write.
Mhm.
And what are some scripts, or even just one, that you personally had to unlearn in order to kind of step out in faith and do what you're doing now?
We'll go into what will people say because say whether society, my parents, my friends, I was living for what everyone else was going to say, what will they think? And I think that was the biggest thing was my health. I mean, I went through other deep challenges. I still am dealing with some challenges now with what I can eat and all of that type of things, but I'm so much beyond better than where I was before. But I'm like, if I don't listen to me for the little moments that fuel me, then if it's an inconvenience, oh, we're not going out drinking, if it's, all these things that I'm trying to go with the flow, right? And have a persona. And if the people in my life then um are going with me in the motions where I'm leading it, like if I'm going out and I'm drinking, I'm doing the motions and it's not fueling me, it's hurting me, then that's not it. So if I could let it was tiny motions, like you said, tiny motions over time of proving to myself that I could do things, proving to myself the confidence. But it was really came down to health. And if once I started choosing me, I took a tiny moment to choose me. Okay, I'm just going to say no. I'm going to say no when it comes to family. I'm going to say no when it comes to friends. I'm going to say no to all of the things that I'm trying to live this perfect persona of me, which because there's nothing is perfect, but I started believing and I started seeing the benefits of that. So I think those tiny moments, for me, it was health, taking choices that benefited me and my health, but I could see it compounding. And I think that changed everything. Because if I could say yes to myself then it continued to grow. Okay, then I don't have to be this version of me. In the past, I was shy, but I always loved people. I was shy. If we're talking about it real, if I was shy because I was afraid of rejection. I
Mm.
wasn't afraid because I was um, introverted. I wasn't quiet because I was introverted. I was shy because I didn't want people to judge me. And over time, I started proving myself that so what? If they judge me, they'll have something to say anyways. And it started from the health because if someone has to say anything against my health, it's not their health. I'm the one living with myself. I'm the one living with my body. And that's okay. But then it started trickling to almost every area of my life, even to the point, say, with family or friends, where it's not resonating, it's not fitting to my values. So I think the point, the expectations was, what will they say? This version of me that maybe the shy, always following the rules, all those components, where I started finding my voice despite that because okay, I'm just going to do things anyways despite if people judge me. And I realized that I pushed my voice so far down and that I didn't know me. So no wonder I couldn't make a decision. I didn't know myself. They're like, how do you be yourself? Be yourself. I'm like, well, how do I be myself if I don't know myself? And I wasn't unhappy with the life that I currently had in the sense of it looked good for someone else. I'm like, okay, data management, great, great for someone else, but not for me. It's not fueling me, it's hurting me. And I paired this with the quote that I put on my desk. It was the best way to predict your future is to create it
Mm.
by Abraham Lincoln. And I took that to heart because I'm like, I could create my life now. And I just, even if it doesn't work, even if I take tiny actions to build the life I want, then I can do that. But that paired with values.
Well, and I always find it interesting that as women collectively, we are so much more focused on keeping other people comfortable. Like
Yeah.
even like you said, well, you wanted to be kind of like the person, okay, everybody's gonna go out drinking, so we're gonna go out, go drinking, or everybody's gonna go do this, and oh, I feel like I need to go and do this. Like it's almost like watching your life from the outside looking in. Because there's things that I've done that, I mean, there are a lot of times we go and do things that we don't really want to do. We do them because we feel it's expected of us or because we don't want to rock the boat or upset anybody or anything like that. But when you start looking internally, and I had, my own aha moments along the way where I had a very successful career, but I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't
Hmm.
happy. I wasn't living in my full potential that I know. And you do have a unique blend of experiences and background with marketing and analytics and fitness and coaching and all, and leadership. At what point did you stop trying to separate all those parts of yourself and question them and realize that that background and who Jen was, that was like your superpower, bringing all those together? When did you realize that?
It's when I paired my values and my heart. So I value inclusivity, I value integrity, and authenticity as just some of the key ones. So I started realizing that it wasn't about what I did, it's how I did it. So as I became a personal trainer, I like to say that I was a mindset coach when I first started in the fitness space. So I helped people go through their own barriers. Okay, no matter what age, demographic, wherever you are, all the excuses, other excuses, additional excuses that people had, I realized that I helped them get through that, where the excuses weren't necessarily excuses. It was people being hard on themselves of, okay, they built a family. They have so much to show. They're so proud of the things they're proud of. And then they're coming to the gym for the first time and they're already beating themselves up. They're already hard on themselves. I'm like, well, wait a minute. You have all of these things you've built and you're proud of them. Now you're taking the step to come into the gym to invest in yourself. I said that should be celebrated. You are here, despite all of the other things. I always said the heaviest thing in the gym is the front door, because you have to get
That's
in
right.
there. I'm like, you are doing this. And it started clicking where I was working with, say, people in the fitness industry or people coming into the gym for the first time. And and same thing with work, say in the data space, for example. I saw the story behind the data. So I saw the person I worked with, member experience. I built their programs. I'm getting the collective member experience because I wasn't necessarily a numbers person. I was a story person. So if I could understand the story of each person and bring that upward and advocate for them, to executives or to whoever can make changes, even myself, where we had a member appreciation month, we had all these things based on the data, then, oh, okay, it's all together. So pairing my values, and what I realized is my heart has always been around this growth umbrella. So to me, once I realized that, it all clicks. Mindset, fitness, and business growth. You pair marketing for business growth. You have the mindset, you're growing yourself personally as well as physical growth. So once I realized, oh, it's all under growth, and I could put the integrity, authenticity, and inclusivity all under that, then no matter what I did, I'm just living those values. And then it all feeds each other. I'm leading classes at the gym and it leads me to command a room with executives. I'm seeing the challenges. I'm coaching one-on-one people from every single day. I would go from 8 hours of work to maybe 4 or 5 hours at the gym, let alone at different times of my life. I went back to school to get my MBA. So I was full of stuff, but I started putting the things in my life that gave me energy. And when I put that with values, it didn't feel like work. So it blended all to me, and then I unlocked that expectation of having to prove it to other people. Yes, you want branding, but that's the growth umbrella. But people don't have to understand why, as long as they could see the impact, as long as they can resonate with it. And then it comes, and then um, it it showcases itself.
And I've watched you even just on LinkedIn stepping onto like more stages and getting more public and stepping into that in a bigger way over the past year, even that I've even witnessed it. But what fear or inner resistance did you have making that move to become more visible? Because when we first met, I didn't take you as shy, I took you as quiet. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Because you were so articulate and you were talking about everything you envisioned for yourself and all of that. So stepping out now, knowing that, you kind of classified yourself as being a shyer person, what did you barriers did you have to overcome to step more onto the stage and more in the public eye?
Yeah, I would say two things to that. The first version is I know about so True Icon's almost 2 years old, so it's a year and a half. So it's go when I first created True Icon, I left my corporate job. I was diving into my MBA just to complete that. And at the same time, I was potentially moving. So I had a lot of my life was uprooted all at once. And even from a perspective of I made the decision on the business. So everything that I thought I had control over, I didn't. I didn't know if I was going to be moving to a different part of the state or different part of the country. Like it was very real that things could change like that in an instant. And there were I was very low in terms of the people around me per se. I had this vision and I just invested in myself and now everything else seemed to crumble. My family was stepping up and they were helpful, but everything I thought I had was very much questioned despite the true icon. That's when I was working, say, in the mastermind with you, that
Hmm.
I had the community. So I paired that with people around. So I think that was shyness in one way, but it was complete and utter like letting go and vulnerability. Like that was I was I didn't know what to do. So in that moment, it actually helped me through those parts of my life where, I reached out to people and then people didn't answer. And then I take it as a gift now because I needed to believe in myself. If I had everything else quiet and I had to trust my decision and trust my voice then and there, I needed to learn it first. So I needed to go through the real challenges. That was a very tough time in my life. I had hope, like somehow in the distance, like I had some type of hope, but I had no idea what the heck was going to happen. So that was just raw fear and emotion, but fear of just the unknown. But once I let go, that's where the confidence came in. That was the vision. That was the first time I had that real vision as clear as I did in my life. So I unveiled that. So for me, getting to where I am now from the speaking side, I found that my voice is very powerful because it is real.
Hmm.
And recently I have been going into different schools through different partnerships. And I never thought I would be leading workshops or talks for high schoolers. And it was awesome because we had maybe 4 or 5 assemblies back to back of like 100 people or so. So maybe 400 or so people that day or more. And in some cases we had to kick the kids out because they kept asking so many questions. Like the bell rang. I'm like, you have to leave. We can talk after. Here's the contact info. And I didn't realize the impact of that. And I realized the other day when I had a panel at one of the local theaters where one of the students came to me and was saying, I'm not even, I may have shared this with you, but she said she was talking at her booth. She was a part of this project, and there was a whole bunch of people around. She was a high school student, and she was telling people that when you make an action, a positive change, you can make a ripple effect and it could lead to other people, and then that person can be inspired, and now their communities change. And she was telling this to the people around her. And she's like, I learned it from you. And she pointed at me. And I'm like, me? And I didn't even know, like, I was just around the booth to say hi. I was doing the panel that day, so I wanted to go to all the tables. And like, me? I'm like, let's talk about this later. So she's like, I resonated with you because of how authentic you were, and you weren't trying to prove anything to anyone, and you were real and meeting people where they're at. I mean, and what I say is like high school, when I talk, like high schools, I'm not gonna pretend it's easy because it's not easy, but people want to be seen, heard, and believed, and I allow that space for them. I allow that space to talk with them and to them, but not at them. And the part of me being raw and vulnerable and authentic, that's what's resonating now more than ever. And my voice, I was finding it more because of how much I ignored it. So now I'm really trying to listen to it and I've been trusting my instincts. So talking on stages and talking in different areas, my energy gets high and it gets really excited when I'm in the right spaces. And a lot of times, if I don't prepare in the certain types of environments, the better because it just feels like it just comes through me. Like have this message and it needs to get into the world and it just happens. If I over prepare, that's not it. I let it happen because it's what people need to hear in that moment. So it's the inspiration. It's knowing that you're not alone. It's going through the phases of life where we all have fears and we're not alone. And a lot of times what I think is we have all these hard feelings internally, whether it's feeling alone, whether it's feeling the fear of rejection. For me, it was the fear of being seen, but I purposely have been doing things afraid, and that gets me to the next step. And I'm not afraid of that discomfort anymore. I look for it, and I realize I've been doing that my whole life, which allows me to get to where I am now. But when I talk to people, I just have to remind people that, if we're all alone, if we're all thinking we're alone, or these other emotions that come up, and we're individuals and we're not sharing it, you're not talking about it, then we're going to feel very isolated. But then when we realize the shared perspectives, if other people are dealing with it, if other people have gone through this even in the podcast, realizing, tapping through the fear, tapping into getting that power you have and breaking through all of those other limitations, a lot of them are in our own mind, the better, because we realize that we have so much more power than we think. And sometimes we just need someone to tell us that.
And you know, what a great place for you to show up in high schools because I remember me years and years ago being in high school trying to figure out, okay, well, I want to do this, this, and this. And, I mean, I just turned 55, so that was a while ago. But thinking about it was almost like in that space, you had to choose one path, right? You couldn't be multi-passionate. Like you and I are both multi-passionate entrepreneurs and founders. And so we take our strengths and we know how to mold them together. And if you have other Jens or Jennifers that are sitting in that assembly room or in that room that you're in and you're giving them the permission that hey, okay, listen, hey, you can go out and do whatever you want. You can take the pieces of yourself and weave them together. You are not alone. There are people out here who can mentor you and coach you and guide you and be there along the way. What a beautiful place for you to show up, especially at that point in their lives where there's a lot of times parents at home saying you need to do this, this, and this, or you need to go and if somebody who played a sport, you need to go here and play your sport and giving them an opportunity to know that there's somebody on the stage telling them you can show up as you and be authentic is probably hard for some of them to hear because you make women, I can just be me. I don't have to perform and be something that everybody else expects of me. That's huge. And what a light that you are in that space. And you don't. I mean, for the girl who stood there, who was at the booth and said, I learned it from you, you never know who you're inspiring. Which is why when we created this podcast, it was I want women to come on and share their where they started, what they faced, and how they're moving into the next level of their life. Because somebody is going to find themselves or their story in my story. Somebody's going to find them in your story and the other women that come on. That's so important that you are getting out there and you're doing it scared anyway. You know what I mean? Like that is, there are two types of people. There are people who are going to say, I'm not going to do this and I'm going to stay comfortable, even though it's not what I really want, but I just can't step out in faith. Maybe it's support, maybe it's belief, maybe it's whatever else. And there's people like you and I who will just look like we will seek it out, and an opportunity where we can step on or we can share our story or we can be in a room where, one person or two people really it resonated. In the middle of 500 people, there are two people who needed you to show up in their life in one way or another. And I know that you are so community oriented and mentored, you definitely mentor people, there's no doubt. But who were the people or what experiences shaped your confidence? Like who, as you were moving through this, gave you permission, even though you may not have needed it, but who gave you that comfort to step into authentic leadership like you are now?
I constantly try to surround myself with people doing things. I would say earlier on, say in high school, no, college, when I married my husband and we met in college. So I think 12 years, 13 years. something like that, ago, that we were together, and he was very direct. So that was something that was the opposite of me. I was very indirect and very second guessing a lot of things. So that pushed me out of my comfort zone a bit. And I think in other ways, like you mentioned earlier, those micro moments, like I would
Mhm.
listen to podcasts, I would build my community and build my world around people who've done things that I might be somewhat interested in. So whether it was at time, maybe it was leaders in different spaces. I think I had the mindset mentor, or there was other podcasts that I liked. It started with how to be awesome at your job or something like that, where I was just trying to get the next steps, but then I realized it switched to more confidence. So I would listen to these things every day, and they would continue to reinforce to me that I can do it. And then in terms of my own business, I would go to a co-working space where other leaders were building their own business, because I have businesses in my extended family. My family owns a glass shop in the Bronx, and that was always something that was a family business, but it was removed from me. So in my immediate circle, it was not as clear. Like my dad does accounting, my mom worked in the lab, and it was very much not entrepreneurial, not creative. So I would go to the spaces where people did it. And eventually I'm like, oh, I have this idea. It was met with less resistance. It was met with, oh, okay, let's do it. And that surprised me of how easy it was and seamless that, oh, you have a business idea? Let's do this, from people who have already done businesses and grown and failed and grown some more. And it was very eye-opening to me to see that. So I would just continually surround myself. And it, going back to that as well as myself, of just proving to myself little by little, the building the confidence, as with anything, as with going to the gym, as with confidence in work, in your own skills, even the drums or anything. I was getting comfortable at being a beginner, and that alleviated a lot of the pressure because I'm learning. I even when I created the True Icon podcast, it's been 4 months, I think. I'm like, I'm gonna do it imperfectly. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna just stop letting everything else be an excuse why. And my three words of this year: discipline, action, and fun. So how can I, action was a big one, do the things that's in my mind and not let the perfection stop it. So just the environment around, continuous shifting my environment towards people who align with my values and align with where I want to go.
That's awesome. And for the women that are going to be listening to this, what is the one piece of advice that you could give them to kind of trust themselves enough, set aside the fear, and step into the next level of their life where they're totally embracing who they're really called to be? What would you tell them?
Key is observing what gives you energy and where your energy is drained. My life changed when I was doing personal training in the neurodivergent community, and I was working with someone who just said, I can't a lot, the default word. So step up onto this box. I can't. Okay. Well, I know you can do it because you've done it before. So this time, take my hand and we'll do it together. Stand up. Tell me how you feel. They stand up. They tell me they feel. They they said, I can't. I'm like, you just did it. We're gonna do it. This time you do it on your own. So they did it on their own. They stood up tall and they said, I feel powerful. And I said, you are powerful. And that changed my world because I realized I got a lot of energy from that. I got a lot of energy from those 45 minutes after an 8 hour day of work where I just wanted to crawl into a ball and just watch Netflix or sleep. And I would say observe what gives you energy. Observe the things that feel clunky and drain you, and do less of those as much as you can. Going back to the starting small, where did you used to, when you were younger, maybe in the past or different parts of your life where you felt most alive? What did you do? Was it yoga? Was it journaling? Did you used to love to write or draw or learn, pick, some people take things apart and put things back together, like certain things that you used to love where your world just gets lost, where the time is irrelevant. Tap into those moments. And even if it's very little of, okay, I'm going to do a 5 minute yoga YouTube video or a 5 minute journal or draw something, doesn't have to be good, just whatever comes to mind, then that's a clear way to check in with yourself on what gives you energy. And over time of doing that, while letting go of the things that you really don't like, even if it's just writing it down of what's working and what's not, it'll slowly mold your world into the things that give you energy. And I have found that when I built my life around energy, it's so much more open and flowy. And those laughs, like when was the last time you had one of those laughs like that hurt your belly or you just can't stop? More of those. When did you stop saying no to yourself for those things? So just you could always start at any point and you don't need anyone else's permission to do that. You don't even have to tell anyone. And then see how your world changes.
I love that. And I always love talking to you because even when I met you, I mean, you were so much more. I can feel it, like even like through the screen, because I had only met, we've never met in person, and I've only ever felt you through the screen. But your energy and your confidence is just so incredible. It was there, it was quieter, but now it's like full on. And I think it's just because you're stepping more and more into yourself. And I always love talking to you. And I have no doubt in my mind that if you say you're going to do something, and I'm going to keep my eyes on what you're doing because it's amazing. But how can people find you? How can they connect with you? How can they learn more about what it is that you do and about True Icon?
True Icon. The True Icon podcast is where you stream wherever podcast. It's True Icon's one word, the True Icon podcast. And be a true icon is the handle. So BEA true icon. Stay true to yourself and boldly grow. That's the whole theme of True Icon. And you can find me on LinkedIn if that's your specialty. It's Jennifer DeGroff. And I would love to connect further, especially now I'm in the time where I'm realizing people are in a different point of the same problem. So that fear of being seen and feeling that expectations, whether you're in college orientations, which is actually, it also really tremendously resonates because you could live real time invent yourself for college all the way up through different parts of the journey of life. A lot of times it resonates with women because you're right, a lot of expectations are on women and how much do we get to express and not just care for others and care for ourselves and have the time to do that, but it's all throughout different parts of that same challenge of finding yourself. And I will tell you, the more you do that, the more you feel alive in life. The more you feel like you're actually living and not going through the motions. And I've lived that and I've seen other people live that. So if you want to connect with me there, even if it's just for different conversations in terms of someone new, someone like you, or someone you know who needs a little more inspiration or even some more energy in their life.
Anybody who's listening to this or watching this, please connect with her. I'm just telling you, the evolution of this younger person and all that she has put her mind to has been very powerful for me to watch. And I have absolutely loved talking with you again on here. So thanks so much for coming on, Jen. And I know that you're going to continue to do very, very big things. And I'm going to be really excited to see what happens for you next. But as we wrap up today, I'd just like for y'all to remember this: the woman that you're becoming is built in the decisions that you make next. Until we meet again, keep doing the work and keep choosing yourself and keep rising into the life that's calling you. I'll be here every step of the way, getting you to your next level. See you all next week. Thanks again, Jen. And everybody go out and catch her, find her on LinkedIn, find her on her podcast is The True
True
Icon.
Icon.
Okay,
Yep,
True
the
Icon.
True
Okay.
Icon podcast.
Yep, we're gonna have it all listed out for where you can find her, and keep your eyes open. You're gonna see her stepping on stages big time soon. There's no doubt in my mind. So thank you, everyone. See you again next week.